G'day guys, welcome to the second instalment, which is part 2 of my mid-season player reviews. Thanks for all the feedback from part 1, really appreciate that. It's really, I suppose, a good exercise to do this, just to have a look where we're at. We do understand that there is an external review just about to take place for our whole football department, but I think it's important that we also have a look at the performances of the players thus far in 221 and what we expected them going into the back half of this season. And in some of these cases, or most of these cases, what we would like to see them, get to beyond this year as well. So today I'll be looking at Zach Williams, Matthew Kennedy, Lachie Fogarty, Patrick Cripps, and Harry McKay. Now that's a very interesting group of players. And I'm going to start with Zach Williams, number 6. We know his story, don't we? We know the Zach Williams story. We know he's on a significant contract. We know he's right in the sweet spot of his AFL career. He's 26 years of age. He already played 124 games. We know he's a very good footballer, and he's come from a club which has had some success. They didn't win a grand final, but he came from this club which had some success, played in a grand final himself, and he's built up a fairly decent career thus far. But so far in the navy blue, it's been somewhat underwhelming. And as I said before, we know the story. Interrupted start to the season, got suspended, and then missed the Gold Coast game through soreness, and then the Essendon game in round 6 through soreness. Played just the 9 games. Started off in the midfield, and has gone back to his natural position in defence. But let's have a look at this, and really, I think the management of Zach Williams since he arrived at the club to where he is now has been nothing short of fucking pathetic, to be perfectly honest. And I hope the review of the football department delves deep, not only just with the management of Zach Williams from, I suppose, pretty much a physical point of view, and I hope we get to the bottom of it, because this really stinks of a really unprofessional football club. The fact that he could play in the midfield, considering how underdone he was from a physical point of view, was really disappointing. And then for it all, really, in the end, for him to go back to find form, to find fitness, just really doesn't sit well. I like him. I really like him. And maybe he has a large part to play in his, the way he presented himself when he first came into the team in round 2 against Collingwood, and right back to now. And I think he's starting to find his feet. There's always, look, we've got to cut him some slack. There's always that sort of period where you come into a new club and you're trying to find your feet. I think he tried to stamp his authority in the practice game with some real aggression that got suspended. I didn't mind that. But the way he presented himself in his first few games, and more importantly, the way we sort of folded and decided to play him, particularly in the midfield, I just think it's really poor. It reminds me of a local football club. Local football club, you get a big name player in on some coin. He doesn't do any pre-season, turns up 2 weeks before the first game, comes straight into the ones, and then next thing you know, you got guys in the 2s fucking talking about it, pissed off that it just stinks of real unprofessionalism. He's played the 5 straight now, and I think he's getting better and better and better. I love his energy. I love his speed. I like his power. And I think once he gets fitter, I think we're going to see some real penetration in that boot of his. I'm actually not giving up on him becoming, a mid-forward option. I don't know whether that's full-time midfield, but he's certainly capable, I think, in that position. I think even when he played in those games early on in the year, particularly the first 2, the one against Collingwood, his first game, he had 20 touches and 10 clearances. Okay, you don't get 10 clearances if you don't know how to play midfield, okay? And in the following game against, I think it was Fremantle, he racked up another 7 clearances. So he can win the ball in close, and we know what he can do on the break. But it's about getting the body right. It's about getting fit, and having, I suppose, having high standards in that area of the ground. Are we comfortable with him down back? Certainly. I think he can defend. I think going back down there is enabling him to find his feet. But when it's all said and done, we recruited a midfielder, not a half-back flanker. So in time, I'd like to see him go back in there. As I said, he gives us that point of difference with speed and energy, and I like the way he goes about it. But the irony of the situation is he's become a goal kicker since he's gone down back. When he was forward, okay, early on in the season, he couldn't hit the big stick. So he is a goal scorer as well. It'd be interesting to see how he develops in the second half of the season, and if we do decide to bring him back on ball, and I'd really like to see that. I think it's been an okay start, but I really think the management of him was really poor, and how much responsibility is placed on his shoulders as an individual. Okay, I think a fair bit as well, but the club need to be stronger, need to be a lot stronger with these types of players, and playing him was really poor. Let's move on. Let's move on to Matthew Kennedy, Bam Bam. Out of contract. I think he's a very, 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 very good footballer. Very good footballer at VFL level. In fact, if he went out this weekend to country football or to a high suburban football league, he'd absolutely fucking dominate and tear those competitions to shreds. He really would. And this is where I think he sits. And I think his days are numbered at the Carlton Football Club. And I honestly can't see him being at the club next year. You'd never say no. You never say no, but I honestly can't see it. And when you look at it like that, it's a huge, huge bust. It's a massive bust. 32 games in 3.5 years is poor. He had a couple of injuries early days, but really he's been pretty much fit ever since. And that's a really poor return in how much we invested in him coming across from the Giants. He's played just the 3 this year. And by last year's standard, I think when he did play last year, I don't think he was our poorest player last year when he did play. But he's played just the 3 this year. He's playing very good football at VFL level, as I mentioned, but he's 3 games this year. Look, he got his opportunity as a sub. Okay, came on late when Jack Silvani went off against the Gold Coast Suns, came on in the last quarter, and then got his opportunity the following week against Port Adelaide, where he was poor. Where he was poor, I think he had 9 touches or something. And then was the sub the following week against the Brisbane Lions, did not come on. There was no injuries, and we have not seen him since. And I don't know whether we will see Matthew Kennedy again in the Carlton colours. I actually hope we do, because we've got nothing to lose. I think the big question mark on Matthew Kennedy is the speed of the modern game, and can he handle that frenetic speed? Particularly we talk about it a lot. The defensive running, what is he? Have we got enough inside midfielders? I think we probably have, and it's whether he can come in and provide us something just a little bit different. Because right here, right now, I can't see it happening. My only, I suppose, hope for Matthew Kennedy in the second half of this season is the fact that Luke Power, 3-time premiership player at the Brisbane Lions, absolute champ of the game, is now our stoppage coach for the rest of this season after John Parker got the arse Well, resigned and then got the arse. So Luke Parker comes in. Hopefully Parker brings something different to the table, and that's something I'm really looking forward to in the final 10 games of this year. What can he bring in? What different looks can he bring in? That actually fascinates me. So is there a chance for Kennedy to come in? Considering that Luke Power, okay, after he finished his career at the Giants, became an assistant coach at the Giants when Matthew Kennedy was first drafted. And I would also like some answers as well, because Matthew Kennedy's first 2 years at the Giants, not so much his first, but his second year, he was virtually a regular in a very strong midfielder. He was a regular. Okay, and Luke Power would have been there then. So maybe he saw something in Luke Power there that he can add to our midfield. We're just going to have to wait and see. He was a regular. As I said, he's a regular at the Giants in that second season, and he looked like he was going to blossom into a very good AFL footballer. What the fuck has gone on? I don't know. But Matthew Kennedy, is he going to be in the Carlton colours next year? I think it's a big no. So let's move on to, I think, one of the real success stories so far this season in Lachie Fogarty. I think the expectations coming into the year, if we looked at those three recruits, Sard, Williams and Fogarty, we're probably looking at Fogarty at the start of the year and thinking he's a real fringe player. Okay? I don't think he's yet to prove that he is going to entrench himself in the best 22, because I think he's still got a lot of work to do in the back half of this season. But I think we'd be very happy in what we've seen so far. It's been a real bargain pickup. Okay, real bargain pickup. He's a Western Suburbs boy, which I love, from the Spotswood Football Club. And if any of you don't know where the Spotswood Football Club is, if you're from the southern or eastern side of town, when you come to the west, across the West Cape Bridge, okay, and you just dip down and you're coming onto the Westgate Freeway, on the left-hand side, you'll see a football ground, okay? You never miss it. It's on the left-hand side. That's the Spotswood Football Club. Not only now have we got Lachie Fogarty, who's been a real success this year, we've also picked up Jordan Boyd, who was the year above Lachie Fogarty at the Spotswood Football Club. It's great to see a couple of boys from the West on our list. I think Lachie Fogarty's been, I wouldn't say exceptional, but I think he's been good. And I think he's been one of the real positives so far this season. He's not perfect by any stretch, okay, but we know what he's going to bring to the table. That is genuine pressure. He's an excellent tackler. He gives us speed, okay, so he can corral, he can chase down, and I think he's actually a bit of a barometer. Now, when he's on with that physical presence, okay, with his tackling, we're up and about. We certainly are up and about. And if we're talking about role players and what a role player should look like moving forward, I think he's the perfect role player. I don't think he's going to get to A-grade status, and we don't need him to get there. We do not need him to get there. He couldn't get a game at Geelong because there were guys like Tom Atkins in front of him, and I see him as a similar type to Tom Atkins. So if we can get that type of role player like a Tom Atkins out of Lachie Fogarty over the next 3 or 4 seasons, I think it's going to be a bonus for us. I think he's been consistent, although his last couple of weeks before he was managed, he started to drop away just fractionally. He's had 4 games with 20-plus touches, which is good, and he's had some midfield minutes, and that will be interesting to see whether, in time, he can go, okay, and spend more time in the midfielder. I think when I said he's not perfect, we look at his negatives. I don't think he's a particularly good finisher. I think we saw that in the Sydney game where he struggled on the run to kick, 30 metres. We know that we've seen that kick before from Lachie Fogarty. I don't think he's a particularly good finisher in front of goal. I don't think he's got great penetration with his kicking. And I don't think he's as clean with the ball at ground level, okay? I think he fumbles just a little bit. I don't know if that's just him making his way, but he doesn't have that clean sort of ball use like, say, a Paddy Dow has. But I like him, and in time, can he be adaptable? Can he go up onto a wing? Could he go down back? I'm not quite sure. But I think it's been a really good start to his career at the Carlton Football Club. So it's a big tick for me for Lachie Fogarty. Next, we go to the number 9 in our co-captain in Patrick Cripps. I'm really trying to think about Cripper, and for me, we talk about, his All-Australian year a couple of years back when he was, I suppose, at the peak of his powers, and can he ever get back to that? And I think, if we're going to be honest, I think he's that far away from All-Australian contention or even consideration. It's not funny. I think he's dropped off a lot in the last 2 seasons, a lot, and it's been a relatively big fall. And I know All-Australians are the least of our concerns, and we don't want to talk about individual accolades. We're talking about the standard of football that he's produced. He was average last year, and I'm talking about by his standards, okay? He was average last year, and he's continued that form this year. And I think he's really, if we're talking about All-Australian games, I think he's probably only had one, and that was the game against Sydney, where I thought he was outstanding. Okay, he had a really good game against Fremantle early in the year, but they were underdone. Okay, a lot of players out. There was no Nat Fyfe, and he had a really good game. I think he had 34 and 2 goals in that game. But the Sydney game, okay, for me, okay, that showed him what he's capable of. I liked, okay, his games against Melbourne and Hawthorn of recent times, okay, where he really got his hands dirty and had double figure tackles, okay, and I thought he led really well in both of those games. One a win and one a loss, but I thought he could hold his head up high. I think he's lost his bread and butter, and that's his clearance work. He's had double figure clearances only once this season, and that for me, that for some reason has dropped away. And we know, I'm pretty sure that the opposition work him over defensively. I really do. I just think his speed, okay, with that defensive running, I think they really exploit Cripper in that area. I think we've got too many of that type at times in our team. Okay, I'm not necessarily saying he doesn't want to run, okay, defensively. I just don't think he has that capacity in him. I don't know where that leaves us, okay, because I think he's still a really integral part of our football club, and I hope he signs. I hope he signs. But, my understanding is Cripper, said he wanted to sign when he was comfortable with where this club was heading. And we thought that signature was coming, 2-3 weeks ago. We were told it was coming. I mean, and now, okay, we're having one of the biggest reviews, okay, of the football club from a football department point of view of all time. Okay, the running of the football club, the football department, the way this club runs. And he said he wants to, I suppose, sort of, understand where we're heading. So from that point of view, why the fuck would he sign? Why the hell would Cripple want to sign now? And with all that uncertainty, does he then become a part of the problem as well? I don't know. I don't know what it looks like. And is he really comfortable with being the captain of the football club? And that's another issue as well. For me, it's been just another May season for Patrick Cripps, and we know the injury concerns he had. Okay, the back problems, but it's not the same. It's not the same Patrick Cripps that we saw running around with his football club 2.5 years ago. Okay, looking forward to seeing what he's got to offer. Okay, he's played every game this year. Looking forward to what he's got to offer in the back half of the season. Let's finish off on a real positive note. Yeah, Harry McKay, I think he's just been absolutely outstanding. Forget about leading the Coleman. Forget about that. He's had 38 goals, but he's had 23 behinds. He's had a lot of shots on goal. Okay. His previous best, last year he had 13 games, kicked 21-15. in a shortened season, shortened time. But if you go back to 2019, 26-30 in 20 games. So he's already eclipsed that. I mean, he's having an outstanding season and he's matured. He's matured right before our eyes. So all those doubts we had about Harry McKay, okay, in those games he's played this year, it was disappointing he went out with concussion against the Eagles because he could have had a good game, another good game. But we're seeing him mature in front of our eyes to become a really good key position forward, a really good one, okay, and we're lucky to have him. And I'm confident he would sign. I really am. Okay, I don't have a problem with them. I think he's consistently playing well. We always knew he was an excellent contested mark. He's already at 29 of this year, which is outstanding. But I think he's really improved his work rate, particularly his separation from his opponent. And they say the old running patterns as a forward. Okay, I think that's important. But we've seen him hit up on the lead. I think he had one game there where he struggled with his marking. May have been the Hawthorn game from memory, but he was coming off a shoulder injury. But his hands have been sticky. And we know his conversion has always been probably his weakest suit. But I think it's gradually improving, but it needs to get better. But for me, the thing I like about Harry this year has been his resilience. The concussion protocol, you can't get around that. And I'm sure if he had his choice, he probably would have come back onto the ground. But the other times where he's had injuries, and he's had a few of them this year, okay, I've thought when he's gone off, there goes fucking Harry, you won't see him again today. But he's come back on and been a significant contributor in that game. So I think his resilience has been fantastic. Can he get better? There's no doubt in a better side, with better systems, with more support around him. He can get a hell of a lot better. He said he wanted to wait, okay, to sign this contract, to prove what he could do, to boost his price. Good on him. I just hope when he does sign, that he continues to want to get better after that. So if he signs a big contract, is it 4 or 5 years and big money, I just hope that he doesn't stop. That he has it in him to want to not only improve himself individually, but to want to improve this football club. Because for me, that's going to be the most important thing. But he's been a huge tick, Harry McKay, so far this season. Thanks, guys. I'll be back again tomorrow for the next instalment, part 3. I hope you enjoy these. Please share them around. Thank you once again for all the feedback, all the comments. Please comment below about what you think of Zach Williams' year thus far, what he may have to offer. Matthew Kennedy, Spotswood boy Lachie Fogarty, Cripps and Harry McKay. Catch you tomorrow.